The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
This Social Security measure gives at least some protection
for anybody to hand this out. We're asking for a chance to have the people who will receive the benefit to earn their way. The same principle established under the Social Security system in this country.
It is no longer acceptable to discuss women's rights as separate from human rights.
I know we can come together to face down the challenges of our own time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Us Democrats here on Access Nashua. We are continuing our series of state representative candidates so that all the voters out there can get to know who they'll be voting for on Election Day. I'm Dave Tenza, Chair of the Nashua Democratic City Committee, and we are fortunate today to be joined by the ladies of Ward 3, women of Ward 3 here in Nashua. And this is an opportunity for you folks. I know a lot of people already know you, but to introduce yourself to other voters who may not know you, and to say a little bit about what issues are important to you and what you'd like to be working on if elected to Concord. So we're going to start with Representative Cindy Rosenwald, who is a staple in Ward 3, who is
staple.
I don't know. You've served Ward 3 for a long time.
6 terms.
6 terms.
Which, yes, so I'm a staple. I'm
yes.
Flour. Yeah. Salt. That's what I was thinking. Yes, I have served the ward up in Concord for 6 terms, and I'm hoping for a 7th next month. And it's been great. Even when the weather's terrible and it's a tough drive up to Concord, it's still really fantastic.
And so you've been up there 12 years. You've seen different legislatures in some respect. You've been part of a majority in the House, part of a minority in the House, and you hold a leadership position now in the Democratic Party. What are you hoping to go back and push as far as an agenda or issues that are important to Ward 3?
Well, I've spent a lot of time over the 12 years working on health care policy issues and health care funding issues. This past 2 years, we've spent a lot of time working on ways to address the drug problem in New Hampshire, which is our #1 public health crisis. And so I have made it easier through legislation for doctors and dentists and other healthcare providers to get more complete medical history on their patients. We've worked to increase funding for a range of treatment and recovery services, including sober housing, which is really important. Funding drug courts all across the state. Of course, we've got one in Nashua, which is successful. You yourself, I'm sure, very familiar with it.
Yes.
We've given local law enforcement more tools that they need to go after drug dealers. And those are issues that continue to be very important to me, in addition to continuing to study passenger rail, which is very important to the business community in Nashua and the people who live here. Overwhelmingly support continuing to move that forward. We're also interested in funding full-day kindergarten. That would probably be very helpful to Nashua because many children have access to it, but we have not been able to give adequacy payments to local communities. So if we are able to do that, that would help Nashua property taxpayers.
I'm sure. It's a big issue for young families, looking to move into Nashua or looking to stay in Nashua. The public schools around here are great, but that's clearly an area that can be improved upon. So, are you still excited about going up to Concord after?
I am.
You seem like it. You seem like you enjoy going up,
I do.
working with the 399 other representatives who come from all across the state and all different walks of life.
Well, and both sides of the political spectrum and the other body, too. So I think I have a track record of working with Republicans. I'm working with members of the Senate, and it is still exciting.
Great. Well, hopefully you'll get a chance to get back up there
I hope so.
for 2 more years. And you have been campaigning with Mary Ellen McKay, who is not necessarily a newcomer, because you've been campaigning before. But can you tell people just a little bit about your experience and why you want to get back up into Concord?
Okay, well, I'm a former representative, and I too love it. I love going up there. I love the interactions. I love being able to utilize positive energy and constituents' thoughts and wishes. Around Medicaid expansion, we'll take that one. I was part of the initial vote that absolutely brought it to New Hampshire, and it's a thing that needs to stay. We have 50,000 people who need Medicaid expansion, who need health care, almost 4,000 right here in Nashua. So it's very, very important to me. That's one of my issues. I sat on Health and Human Services and Health and Human Services Oversight. And so that's where my heart is. That's where my passion lies. I've been an advocate for people with disabilities and for individuals for 20 plus years. It's what I do as a career. I work at the Moore Center, which is the largest area agency in the state. And that too is interesting. But you learn about people and about lives, and not so much different difficulties, just different abilities. Everyone has a different ability. We all have strengths, and we should all be able to utilize those. Currently, I sit on the zoning board for the city of Nashua, the Historic District, which I'm the vice chair of, and the Nashua Housing Authority. And I enjoy each one of those boards. Each one is separate and apart, but each one is interesting. And I never thought that I would find something as dry as zoning interesting. But it's extremely interesting, and it's extremely heartening to be able to support my neighbors in what they want to do, because after all, they are my neighbors. This is my city. I've been here for 33 years. My husband was born here. We still live in the same house he was born to. So I am very much a supporter of Nashua and its needs.
Great. So you have all been doing a lot of door-to-door
Yes.
throughout this campaign, talking to your neighbors, which you've done in each of your campaigns. What are people telling you are the most important issues to them when you get a chance to talk with them?
Rail seems to be the number one. People really do want to have rail. And if you want to keep the youth, you have to have a way for them to access the city of Boston, for example. They need to be able to travel, but they're going to want to live in the suburbs. They're going to want to live in those bedroom communities, which is what we are. And that would be very helpful. It's beneficial to Nashua to be able to have people live and pay taxes here, but be able to access, larger corporations or more business in Boston. But if we have rail, why couldn't those businesses then move on up? I mean, and that's the hope and that's the dream. That seems to be one of the issues. Education is another issue, supporting education, keeping it strong, and doing all we can to support our children. Special education, the gifted programs. We're losing on both sides of that street, and that's too bad. We need to continue to enforce both of those programs. And I support that, and that's what we hear. And healthcare. Those seem to be the biggest issues people have at this point.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the in these tapings that we've done, all the candidates are saying when they're out talking to people, rail comes up, Medicaid expansion comes up. So that seems to be across the city as well as education. Certainly Ward 3 is not is similar to the other wards in that respect. Another way you're similar to a lot of the other wards is that we have some veteran candidates on the ticket, and we also have some newcomers, which is great to see, people who are stepping up for the first time and saying, hey, I want to run, I want to serve my community. So you guys are fortunate to run with Trish Klee. Trish, this is your first time running for office?
Yep, I've never run before.
This is your first time on public access TV?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so it's, you'd think these lights would heat up the studio a little bit, but it's a little chilly in here right now. But Trish, if you could just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what your background is.
Well, I've lived in Nashua for almost 30 years now. I've been in Ward 3 for 13. I'm a retiree from the Department of Veterans Affairs. And that's kind of one of my issues is also, veterans' needs and so on. I know we have a federal hospital, within here, but there are no beds. So it's looking at the veterans' issues and the problems. And I hate to be the candidate of Me Too, but much what Cindy and Mary Ellen said, Medicaid expansion is extremely important to me. The loss of it would be so devastating to too many people, within Nashua, over the 3,800 people, and then even the opioid crisis, how it would be impacted and affected by that. Education is a big thing on both ends. The full kindergarten day is important. I really do think so. We have 2 working parents, and it's really a stressor on them. And I just recently read and heard the cost of pre-K care, preschool and so on, is even in excess of college tuitions. And then we get to college tuitions in the state, and one of the things that I get is people saying that, my child goes off to school to another state because it's cheaper. And we recently had one who said that their son was accepted at SNHU as well as BC. And with the scholarships, went to BC because it was less expensive, and they're not coming back. And that's the other thing, is we don't give enough scholarships. And I think we need to be focusing in on getting people here. We're not going to get businesses here. We have a very low unemployment rate, and that's because we don't have people to fill the jobs. So we need to get that young blood back in here. Rail is obviously the big thing to do. And there are a lot of little things that can be done that are going to have a really big impact. And I hope to help push some of those through. And working with Cindy and somebody as experienced as Mary Ellen also, I think between the 3 of us, we can help and work on both sides.
Now, Ward 3, the polling locations changed from last election, not since the presidential primary, but you're back at Amherst Street School this time.
Yes, we are. The September primary was back at Amherst Street, and the voters seem to be really happy about that.
Much more central location.
It's more central. The parking is better. The lighting is better. The access to the poll is flatter. It's just really a more optimal place, and the voters are happy.
Good. And that's what we want, is for people to come out, and we want as much participation as possible. So what we've done is we've given folks about 30 seconds at the end of the show just to make a quick pitch. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how would they do that? How would they get more information about your candidacy, if that's what they want? So Cindy, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, you could call me up at home. My home number is 595-9896. You could follow me on Twitter at Cindy R4NH, or Cindy Rosenwald for New Hampshire is my Facebook. I do have a website, cindyrosenwald.com. I don't get a chance to update it very often, so Twitter and Facebook probably are the best ways, or call me up. And my email is cindyrosenwald@yahoo.com with no punctuation.
All right, great. Thank you. Mary Ellen?
Okay, my contact information is Mary Ellen McKay at gmail.com is my email, and it's maryellen.mckay. My home phone is 577-8932, which is the easiest way to get a hold of me. And my Twitter is at MaryEllenJ or hashtag MaryEllenJ. And my Facebook is Honorable Mary Ellen McKay. As a former representative, I wanted to keep my page different from a personal page, and my political thoughts and ideas and viewpoints around issues are on that page. And so that's my Facebook page.
Great. Thank you. And Trish?
Yeah, you can contact me through my cell phone number, which is the 603-966-0979. My email address isn't quite as simple as theirs because I played off of my own personal one. So it's, I'm going to say it and then spell it. It's candidatesibylkd@gmail.com. So it's the word candidate with CYBILLKD@gmail.com. And I do have a Facebook page. I don't know what it is per se, but you can, if you look for Patricia Trish Klee, you should be able to find it.
Sure. Thank you for being here. We'll remind everybody, November 8th, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., Ward 3, Amherst Street School. Please come out and vote. You don't need any ID. If you don't have ID, you can sign an affidavit, voter affidavit at the polls. If you're not registered, there's still time to register at the ballot. Please come out and support these three great candidates. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you for taking your time out of your day today and being here. Thank you for watching Us Democrats here on Access Nashua.
This Social Security measure gives at least some protection
For anybody to hand this out, we're asking for a chance to have the people who will receive the benefit to earn their way. The same principle established under the Social Security system in the 30s.
It is no longer acceptable to discuss women's rights as separate from human rights.
I know we can come together to face down the challenges of our own time.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.